Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this series of videos, I'm going to be showcasing all the Descendants during the first Descendant beta to give you a full concept on how they work and possibly give you an insight on who you want to play upon launch. During this videos, I'll be showing all the skills and giving my review on how the characters felt during the beta, along with both pros and cons to using the characters. Now for the first character we'll be showcasing is Viessa. Her first ability is an Ice Beam. You fire an Ice Beam projectile in front of you that explodes where it hits, dealing skill attack times 58 damage at the center of the explosion, and dealing skill attack times 45 explosion damage to enemies within a 3.5 radius. All the enemies hit are inflicted with an Ice Shackle effect, but we'll get into the Ice Shackle effects more later in the video. It's got a pretty fast cooldown and can be decreased with the correct runes, but overall it felt kind of hit and miss. With the low range and small radius of the explosion afterwards, I rarely found myself actually using this ability. I only really used it when I was like directly in their face, so personally for me I wouldn't really use this ability as much. I used to just use her number 2 ability and Blizzard the most. If I was to change anything about this ability, I'd probably give it more range upon casting, as it's just a bit too weak and a bit too short. Now her second ability is Frostfog, and this is probably one of my most favourite skills in her arsenal. The player upon casting the ability enters a Frostfog state for 19 seconds. In Frostfog state, running speed is increased by 30% and you get an instant shield. Ice sheets are created upon touching the ground, and when enemies touch the ice, they're inflicted with Ice Shackle's effect. This is why this ability is good. This ability can be reduced to runes given 100% uptime, and honestly is one of the best abilities for her. Along with the bonus shield you get, 30% extra movement speed almost feels a bit like Bunny, but not as fast, which honestly I like. Bunny's a bit too fast for me. This gives it a bit more speed to the character while still being able to control. Along with, if you are in a sticky situation, you can pop that ability, get your shield back somewhat instantly, not all of it, but a decent amount to get out of the area, and you've got the 30% movement speed to get out. It is honestly one of the best abilities for her. Along with being able to run around your enemies, freezing them in place if you do need a little more time to plan the next attack or just to recover, this is one of her best abilities in my opinion. Her third ability is Eyewave. Projects cold air forward in a 7.5 radius cone. Enemies touched by the cold air are inflicted with skill attack times 69 damage and Ice Shackle's effect. When I first read it, it sounded a bit weird, so I'm going to dumb it down. Using Eyewave basically throws a cone of ice in front of you to about 7.5 meters radius, affecting all the enemies within the range with skill attack and Ice Shackles. Personally, this is a great combo paired with both Frostfog on harder and more elite enemies. Being able to apply 2 stages of Ice Shackles with Frostfog and then another 2 stages freezing them in place of Eyewaves makes the crowd control her main focus. And our final ability is Blizzard. Create a blizzard that lasts 6 seconds. Enemies caught in the blizzard are inflicted with skill attack times 50% damage every 2 seconds and Ice Shackle's effect. Blizzard deals an explosive damage of skill attack times 50% to enemies within a 6 meter radius when it goes away. This is a dot attack for 6 seconds, applying a constant Ice Shackle effect. Needless to say, anything caught inside of the blizzard will get frozen in place instantly. This is going to be very handy for large groups of enemies and will either kill them or freeze them in place. For the explosions, kill them in the end, or yourself or party members can also attack them. I would recommend using this on large groups of enemies. It would freeze them, you can get damage in, or you could possibly use it on a group of elites, say during the beta on wave 11 of a Albion Mountains defense. About 6 or 8 really strong enemies would spawn, would usually wipe you out. You could freeze them during the beta and it would save you possibly during that round. For Viessa's passive, creates an ice sphere that circles around when one enemy is inflicted with Ice Shackle stage 2. Ice spheres shoot out to attack nearby enemies with skill attack times 30% and increased Ice Shackles by stage 2. The stages of Ice Shackle decreases the speed by 7% for a small amount of time. This passive is basically free damage whilst you're using her abilities. to do even more damage to enemies nearby or elites nearby, whatever is nearby to you. I'd recommend trying to spam your abilities enough to keep the uptime on her passive to keep constant damage being shot out at nearby enemies, but it is a bit of a finicky one to do with. I didn't notice much of a difference when playing her in the beta. I'm not sure if others had different experience, but I just didn't really notice this passive as much, and I'd really like to see maybe a bit more of a change to it, make it a bit more noticeable. It just didn't feel like it was there half the time. On to her pros and cons. All of these are my personal opinion. If you don't agree with it, I'm sorry, these are just me. She was my first character I played during the beta, and honestly, a lot of the time I just felt a bit underwhelmed by her. Her pros are definitely be able to crowd control enemies, keep stronger enemies in place, be able to target them down and hit their crits more easily, and an added survival of her Frostfog ability helped quite a lot during sticky situations. At the end of the day, she felt a bit more like a support crowd control player. Maybe during the beta if I played a bit more people, I went solo throughout the entire story mostly. Maybe if I played with people, she'd feel a bit better, but her pros, I couldn't find a lot with it. Onto her cons though, for me it has to definitely be her survival. Without Frostfog, I couldn't really survive that long. I just kept dying too quickly on her. Seeing a lot of her abilities required me to get quite close to her, and they all had really short ranges. While all the enemies are constantly dealing damage to me, it felt like I was trying to do damage without trying to get too close to them, but I had to get close to do damage. It just felt a bit weird. Another one is her boss kills. With a slight debuff of slowing down enemies or freezing them, bosses don't get frozen even on stage 4 ice shackles. Even if they got frozen for like a few seconds, that'd be a bonus, but she just doesn't have a lot of damage abilities either to kill bosses. It's why it put me off using her even in bosses. And lastly, her passive for me, it just didn't show a lot of effect. It might have just been me, but I rarely noticed it was even there. Maybe like a few times I saw the ice spheres going around me, but other than that, I rarely even noticed the ice spheres were there. Thank you for watching the video. I hope this helps you get a feel of what my personal thoughts of this character was, and if this character feels like something that you would enjoy upon launch, then please let me know in the comments. And feel free to like and subscribe, follow all my socials on the screen, and comment below on your opinions of what Viessa was during the beta. I'd love to hear everyone's opinion.